The emergency lights flashed red across the walls of Research Station Kepler 7. Inside the main conference room, 12 alien scientists sat around a large metal table. Their faces showed fear. Some had multiple eyes. Others had scales or feathers. All of them looked at the empty chair at the end of the table. Security Chief Velrin stood at the front of the room. His insect-like body clicked and buzzed as he moved. His forearms gestured at the holographic screen behind him. The screen showed a massive creature with 6 powerful limbs, dark armored scales, and eyes that glowed like hot coals. "This is our 14th death in 3 months, Velrin said. His voice sounded like grinding metal. Subject 9 has killed researchers from 8 different species. We cannot sedate it. We cannot communicate with it. We cannot even get close to it without someone dying." Director Talmos rose from his seat. He was tall and made of living crystal that reflected the room's lights. His voice echoed like wind through caves. "We have tried everything. Our best animal handlers are dead. Our strongest warriors refuse to enter its enclosure. If we cannot find a solution by week's end, the Galactic Coalition will order us to terminate the creature." A bird-like scientist named Mirren spread her feathered wings. "Perhaps termination is the correct choice. This Vraken is too dangerous to study. We should destroy it before it kills again." Talmos's crystal body dimmed. "The Vraken species is nearly extinct. Subject 9 might be one of the last 50 of its kind. The Coalition wants to preserve it, not destroy it, but they will not sacrifice more lives." Velrin clicked his mandibles together. "Then we need someone expendable. Someone who will not be a great loss if the creature kills them." The room fell silent. No one wanted to volunteer. No one wanted to die. Talmos turned to face the security chief. "What do you suggest?" "Humans," Velrin said. The word came out like a curse. "The new species from that primitive death world. They are reckless. They touch dangerous things. They keep predators as pets. If anyone is foolish enough to try this task, it would be a human." Myron ruffled her feathers in disagreement. "Humans have only been part of the Galactic Coalition for 2 years. They barely understand space travel. How could they help with our most dangerous specimen?" Velrin's antenna twitched. "Exactly. They do not know enough to be properly afraid. And if Subject 9 kills one, the galaxy will not mourn a primitive species." Talmos considered this for a long moment. His crystal body pulsed with different colors as he thought. Finally, he nodded. "Contact the human embassy. Ask if they have anyone qualified to work with dangerous animals. But do not tell them how dangerous. Let them volunteer freely." 2 days later, Do-hyun arrived at the station. He was 28 years old with dark hair and calm eyes. He carried a single bag over his shoulder and wore simple clothes. He did not look like someone special. He did not look like a hero. Velrin met him at the docking bay. The security chief looked down at the small human and felt something close to pity. This young creature would be dead within hours. "You are the animal expert?" Velrin asked. Do-hyun nodded. "I worked with dangerous predators on Earth, tigers, crocodiles, bears. The embassy said you needed help with a difficult animal." "Difficult is not the correct word," Velrin said. He led Do-hyun through the station's white corridors. "The creature in our care has killed 14 trained professionals. It is the most dangerous being we have ever captured." Do-hyun showed no fear. "What species?" "Vraka. An apex predator from a Class 11 death world." For the first time, Do-hyun smiled. "Earth is a Class 12 death world. I grew up around apex predators." Velrin stopped walking. He turned his large insect head to stare at the human. "You are not afraid?" "Fear does not help with predators," Do-hyun said. "Understanding helps. Patience helps. Respect helps. Fear just makes you pray." They reached the observation deck outside the Vraken's enclosure. Through the reinforced glass, Do-hyun saw the creature for the first time. It was huge. Each of its 6 limbs ended in claws that could tear through metal. Its armored scales were black with traces of deep blue. Its eyes watched everything with sharp intelligence. A human woman stood near the window. She was young with short hair and wore a scientist's uniform. She turned when Do-hyun entered. "You must be Do-hyun," she said. "I am Somin. I will be your assistant." "I study alien biology." Do-hyun shook her hand. "Have you worked with the Vraken?" Somin shook her head. "No one works with it. We only observe from here. Even these reinforced walls barely contain it." Do-hyun pressed his hand against the glass. Inside the enclosure, the Vraken's head turned toward the window. its glowing eyes fixed on Do-hyun. The two stared at each other for a long moment. "It is in pain," Do-hyun said quietly. Velryn's antenna shot up in surprise. "How can you know that? Look at how it holds its front left limb. See the way it keeps its back to the corner. It is injured and defensive. It attacks because it feels threatened." Director Talmos entered the observation deck. His crystal body reflected the harsh lights. "You believe you can help this creature?" Do-hyun continued to watch the Vraken. "I need to see all the footage of its attacks. I need information about its natural habitat. I need to know what you have been feeding it and what environment you have been keeping it in." "You will have access to all records," Talmos said. "But I must warn you, if you enter that enclosure, station regulations require that guards stand ready. If the creature attacks, they will kill it to save you." Do-hyun turned to face the director. "No guards. No weapons. If I enter alone." Myron, who had been watching from the corner, stepped forward. "That is suicide. The creature will kill you the moment you enter." "Maybe," Do-hyun said. "But if soldiers with guns stand outside, the Vraken will sense the threat. It will be defensive. I need it to see that I am not dangerous." Velryn clicked his mandibles in disbelief. "You are not dangerous? You are prey. That creature is a perfect killing machine." Do-hyun looked back at the Vraken through the glass. The creature was still watching him. "On Earth we have a saying. There are no bad dogs, only bad owners. Perhaps the same is true for all predators." Talmos's crystal body glowed brighter. "I will give you 3 days. Study the creature. Make your recommendations. If you can show progress, I will give you more time. If not, the coalition will order its termination." He paused. "And Do-hyun, please be careful. We do not want to send your body back to Earth." Do-hyun smiled. "I will do my best not to die, Director." That night, Do-hyun sat alone in his quarters. He watched hours of footage showing the Vraken's attacks. Each time he noticed the same pattern. The creature only struck when researchers made sudden movements. It reacted badly to certain sounds. When bright scanning lights hit its eyes, it became violent. Somin brought him a hot drink and sat beside him. "What do you see?" "A scared animal in constant pain," Do-hyun said. "Look here." Every attack starts when someone uses those ultrasonic scanners. The frequency must hurt its sensory organs. Somin leaned closer to the screen. "I never noticed that. We use those scanners for all specimens." "This is not a specimen," Do-hyun said. "This is a living being that has been tortured for 3 months by lights, sounds, and people who see it as a monster." He turned to look at Somin. "Tomorrow, I am going to sit with it." "Sit with it?" Somin's eyes went wide. "Inside the enclosure?" Do-hyun nodded. "I need to show it that not all small creatures are threats. That some of us just want to understand." Somin was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "You know, this is why they need humans in the galaxy." Everyone else gave up. "You are going to try." "On Earth, my grandfather taught me about animals. He said every creature just wants to be safe, fed, and understood. Even the dangerous ones." Do-hyun closed the video files. "Tomorrow I will show this Vraken that it is safe. That I understand. And that I am not afraid." Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere in the station, the Vraken called out. It was a sound of loneliness. A sound of pain. A sound that Do-hyun would soon answer. The next morning, Do-hyun stood outside the Vraken's enclosure. He held a datapad in one hand and a bag of raw meat in the other. Behind him, 20 alien researchers watched through the observation windows. All of them expected to see him die. Velryn approached with 4 armed guards. "These soldiers will wait outside. They have orders to shoot if the creature attacks." Do-hyun shook his head. "No soldiers. No weapons." "That is against all safety regulations," Velryn said. His antenna twitched with anger. "I will not allow you to die without protection." "Then you will allow the Vraken to die instead," Do-hyun said calmly. "Because it will sense those weapons. It will feel threatened. And it will attack." He looked at the security chief. "I am asking for trust. Just one day. If I am wrong, you can say you told me so at my funeral." Velryn clicked his mandibles together. Finally, he waved the guards away. "One day. If you are not dead by sunset, perhaps your method has value." Do-hyun entered the airlock. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. Through the inner door's window, he could see the Vraken. The creature stood in the far corner of the large enclosure. Its 6 legs were spread wide in a defensive stance. Its glowing eyes watched the door. Somin's voice came through Do-hyun's earpiece. Your vital signs are showing elevated heart rate. Are you sure about this? Fear is natural, Do-hyun said quietly. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite fear. He took a deep breath. Opening the inner door now. The door slid open. Do-hyun stepped into the enclosure. The space was large and cold. Bright lights shone from the ceiling. Metal walls reflected the harsh white glow. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to feel safe. The Vraken's head lowered, its muscles tensed. A low growl rumbled from its chest. Do-hyun did not run. He did not shout. He simply walked to the middle of the enclosure and sat down on the floor. He placed the bag of meat beside him and set down his datapad. Then he waited. The Vraken stared at him. Minutes passed. Do-hyun did not move. He kept his breathing slow and steady. He did not look directly at the creature's eyes. In the language of predators, direct eye contact was a challenge. What is he doing? Director Telmos asked from the observation deck. Soman watched the screens carefully. He is showing submission, not weakness but respect. He is telling the Vraken that he is not a threat. An hour passed. Then 2. Do-hyun remained sitting. His legs began to cramp, but he did not shift position. The Vraken had moved slightly closer. It was now only 20 meters away instead of 40. Mirren shook her feathered head. This is foolish. The creature is simply deciding when to strike. But Soman noticed something else. Look at its body language. The muscle tension is decreasing. It is curious now, not defensive. By the 3rd hour, Do-hyun allowed himself to move. He opened his bag and took out a piece of raw meat. He had requested it specially from the station's food supplies. It was the closest thing to the Vraken's natural prey that he could find. He tore off a piece and ate it himself. Then he tossed another piece toward the Vraken. The meat landed halfway between them. The creature's nostrils flared. It smelled the food. Its head tilted to one side, studying Do-hyun. Then slowly it moved forward. Each step was careful. Each movement was measured. In the observation deck, Velrin moved closer to the glass. It is approaching. Prepare emergency protocols. Wait, Somin said. Look at its posture. If it wanted to attack, it would be moving differently. The Vraken reached the piece of meat. It sniffed it carefully. Then it picked it up with one clawed hand and ate it. Its eyes never left Do-hyun. Do-hyun tossed another piece. This one landed closer to himself. The Vraken approached again. It was now only 10 meters away. At this distance, Do-hyun could see old wounds on its scales, burn marks from shock weapons, cuts from when it had broken through containment barriers. Hello, Do-hyun said softly. His voice was gentle and calm. I know you are hurt. I know you are scared. I am not here to cause you more pain. The Vraken's ears twitched. It could hear his tone even if it could not understand his words. It ate the second piece of meat. Do-hyun tossed a third piece. This one landed right next to him. The Vraken hesitated. This was too close, too dangerous. But the human had not attacked. The human had given food. The human spoke with a voice that did not carry threat. The creature moved forward. It was now close enough to strike. One swipe of its claws could kill Do-hyun instantly. The watching researchers held their breath. The Vraken lowered its head. It picked up the meat delicately, almost gently. Then it sat down. Right there, less than 3 meters from Do-hyun, it settled onto its haunches and ate. Do-hyun smiled. Good, that is very good. He continued talking. His voice was steady and soothing. He told the Vraken about Earth, about the animals he had worked with, about a tiger named Baram who had once been aggressive until Do-hyun discovered it had a painful tooth infection, about a crocodile named Hana who had been labeled as vicious until someone realized she was protecting eggs. The Vraken listened. Its glowing eyes began to dim slightly. The tension in its body eased. 6 hours after entering the enclosure, Do-hyun stood up slowly. The Vraken's eyes opened wider, but it did not attack. Do-hyun walked backward toward the door, never turning his back on the creature. When he reached the exit, he nodded once to the Vraken. I will come back tomorrow, he said, and I will bring better food. He left the enclosure. The moment the door sealed, someone rushed to him. That was the bravest thing I have ever seen. Do-hyun shook his head. It was not bravery. It was understanding. He looked through the glass at the Vraken. The creature was still sitting where he had left it, watching the door. Velrin approached. His posture was different now, less hostile. You survived. I did not think that was possible. The Vraken did not want to kill me, Do-hyun said. It only wanted to be left alone. But I did not push. I did not threaten. I just existed in its space. Director Talmos's crystal body glowed with interest. Can you do this again? Yes, but I need changes made to the enclosure. Do-hyun pulled up his datapad. These bright lights are hurting its eyes. Vrakens come from a world with dim light. I need the lighting reduced by 70%. The scanners, Soman added, reading from her notes. The ultrasonic frequencies are causing it pain. We need to remove them. Myron stepped forward. Those scanners are essential for monitoring the specimen's health. Do-hyun turned to face her. The specimen has a name from now on. I am calling it Gom. The Korean word for bear felt right. The creature reminded him of the powerful bears from Earth's forests. You are naming it? Myron's feathers ruffled in disbelief. It is a research subject, not a pet. It is a living being, Do-hyun said firmly. And living beings deserve names. Respect starts with recognition. Talmos considered this. Very well. Implement the environmental changes. Do-hyun, you have proven your method has value. Continue your work. But please, take more care. We do not want to lose you. That evening, Do-hyun returned to his quarters. He was exhausted but satisfied. He had taken the first step. Tomorrow would be harder. Building trust took time. But he had seen something in Gom's eyes. Intelligence, loneliness, a desire to connect. Soman brought him dinner. The other researchers are talking about you. Some say you are crazy. Others say you are the first one who actually tried to help instead of control. Do-hyun ate his food slowly. On Earth, we learned to live with dangerous animals because we had no choice. Our world was full of creatures that could kill us. So we learned. We watched. We understood. Other species in the galaxy come from safer worlds. They see predators as monsters. We see them as neighbors. What do you think Gom sees when it looks at you? Soman asked. Do-hyun thought about this. Right now I am just a strange creature that brings food and does not hurt. But someday maybe Gom will see me as something more. Something like trust. Something like family. He finished his meal and lay down to sleep. Tomorrow he would return to the enclosure. Tomorrow he would take the next step in building a bond that the galaxy thought impossible. A bond between a human and the most dangerous predator known to science. And in its enclosure, Gom lay down for the first time in 3 months. The lights were dimmer now. The painful sounds were gone. And somewhere in its ancient memory, it remembered that not all small creatures were enemies. Some, like the one who brought food and spoke with a gentle voice, might be something different, something worth protecting. 3 weeks passed. Every morning, Do-hyun entered Gom's enclosure. Every morning, the massive Vraken waited for him. What started as careful tolerance had grown into something deeper. Something that looked like friendship. Do-hyun no longer sat far away. Now he sat close enough to touch Gom, though he never did so without permission. He had learned to read the creature's body language. When Gom's ears pointed forward, it was relaxed. When its tail curled slightly, it was content. When it made a low rumbling sound, it was greeting him. Morning, Gom, Do-hyun said as he entered the enclosure. He carried a container of fresh meat and some fruit he had brought from Earth's agricultural sector on the station. Gom's head lifted. The rumbling sound came from deep in its chest. The creature stood and approached Do-hyun. It moved with grace despite its size. When it reached him, it lowered its massive head. Do-hyun placed his hand on Gom's scaled nose. The armor was warm under his palm. How are you feeling today? Let me check that wound on your leg. He moved to Gom's left front limb. 3 weeks ago, the creature would never have allowed this. Now Gom shifted its weight and lifted the leg without being asked. Do-hyun examined the healing wound. It was an old injury from when Gom had broken through a metal wall trying to escape. Much better, Do-hyun said. The medicine is working. A few more days and you will be fully healed. From the observation deck, a group of alien researchers watched in amazement. Velrin stood among them. His opinion of humans had changed significantly in 3 weeks. Impossible, said a reptilian scientist named Corvin. He was new to the station. That creature killed my colleague on Station Gamma. You are telling me a human tamed it with patience?
Not tamed, Soman corrected.
She had been documenting Do-hyun's progress daily. Befriended. There is a difference. Gom chooses to trust Do-hyun. It is not controlled. Corvin's scales rippled with doubt. A Vraken cannot be befriended. It is a killing machine. This human has simply been lucky. Velryn's antenna twitched in disagreement. I thought the same thing. I was wrong. Watch what happens next. In the enclosure, Do-hyun pulled out a puzzle box. It was designed for intelligent species to test problem-solving abilities. He had been working with Gom on these puzzles for a week. New one today, Do-hyun said, showing the box to Gom. This one is harder. He placed the box on the ground. Inside was a piece of Gom's favorite food, but to reach it, the creature needed to slide panels in the correct sequence. Gom studied the box. Its glowing eyes examined every angle. Then, with surprising delicacy, it used its claws to slide the first panel, then the second. It paused, considering the puzzle. Then it moved the third panel and the box opened. Brilliant, Do-hyun said with pride. You solved it faster than yesterday. Corvin stared from the observation deck. That level of problem-solving suggests near-sapient intelligence. Not near-sapient, Soman said. Fully sapient. Do-hyun has proven it. Gom understands cause and effect. It learns from experience. It even shows emotional responses beyond basic survival instincts. Director Talmos entered the observation area. His crystal body pulsed with various colors. The Galactic Coalition Oversight Committee will arrive in 3 days. They want to see Do-hyun's work. This will determine whether we keep Gom alive or proceed with termination. Velryn turned to the director. Surely they cannot consider termination now. Do-hyun has proven Gom can be safely managed. Some members of the committee believe Gom is still too dangerous, Talmos said. They want proof that the creature has truly changed, that it will not kill again if circumstances change. In the enclosure, Do-hyun sensed something was wrong. Gom's ears had flattened. Its tail had gone still. The creature was staring at the observation window where Corvin stood. What is it? Do-hyun asked quietly. Gom made a different sound. Not the friendly rumble. This was lower, darker. A warning growl. Do-hyun followed Gom's gaze. He saw Corvin at the window. Soman, who is that reptilian scientist? Soman's voice came through his earpiece. His name is Corvin. He transferred here last week from Station Gamma. Gom recognizes him, Do-hyun said. And Gom is afraid. Corvin moved away from the window and Gom relaxed immediately. Do-hyun made a mental note. There was history between Corvin and Gom. Nothing good. That afternoon, Do-hyun met with Somin and a human linguist named Hyun. She was a specialist in xenolinguistics who had arrived to study Gom's vocalizations. I have been analyzing the sounds Gom makes, Hyun said, showing them her data. The rumbling greeting, the warning growl, the content purr. These are not random. They are consistent communication. Do-hyun leaned forward with interest. You think Gom has language? Basic language, yes, but there is more. Hyun played a recording. It was Gom making a series of complex sounds. This was recorded yesterday when you were talking to Gom about your work schedule. Listen carefully, the recording played. In the middle of Gom's vocalizations, there was a sound that seemed almost like a word. Almost like Do-hyun. It is trying to say your name, Hyun said with excitement. Vrakans have complex vocal cords. With training, Gom might be able to produce human speech. Soman's eyes widened. If Gom can talk, that proves sapience beyond any doubt. We need time, Do-hyun said. Time to teach Gom more words. Time to show the committee that we are not dealing with an animal. We are dealing with a person. But time was something they did not have. That night, while Do-hyun slept, Corvin made his move. He gathered 3 other scientists who believed Gom was too dangerous to live. They wanted to sedate the creature and transfer it to their own research facility. They wanted the credit for controlling of Vrakan. They overrode the enclosure security. They entered with shock weapons and tranquilizer guns. They did not know that Gom slept lightly, that Gom remembered everyone who had heard it. The station alarms screamed. Red lights flashed through every corridor. The automated voice announced, containment breach. All personnel evacuate Sector 7. Do-hyun woke instantly. He pulled on his clothes and ran from his quarters. Somin met him in the hallway. It is Gom, she said, her face pale. Corvin and his team tried to sedate it. The creature broke through the secondary containment. They ran toward Sector 7. Security doors were closing. Velryn's voice came over the station speakers. All personnel to safe zones. Lethal force authorized. The Vrakan must be stopped. No, Do-hyun shouted. He pushed past security guards. A human security officer named Tai Yang grabbed his arm. You cannot go there, Taiyang said. That creature is dangerous right now. Gom is not dangerous, Dohyun said. Gom is scared. There is a difference. He pulled free and kept running. He reached Sector 7. The scene was chaos. Corvin and his team were trapped in a corner. Gom stood between them and the exit. The creature's armor plates were raised. Its claws were extended. But it had not attacked. It had only blocked their escape. Security teams arrived with heavy weapons. They took positions around the area. Velrin appeared with them. We have authorization to terminate, Velrin said. If that creature attacks, we fire. Give me 1 minute, Dohyun said. Please, just 1 minute. Velrin looked at the human, at the determination in his eyes, at the trust in his voice. 1 minute, then we shoot. Dohyun stepped forward. He entered the danger zone. Behind him, Somin gasped. Taeyang moved to follow, but Velrin held him back. Gom, Dohyun called. His voice was calm, gentle, the same voice he used every morning. The massive Vraken's head turned. Its glowing eyes found Dohyun. For a moment, the creature's aggression remained. Then slowly, its armor plates lowered. Its ears turned forward. Dohyun walked closer. It is okay, I am here. You are safe now. Gom made the rumbling sound, the greeting sound. The sound that meant friend Dohyun reached the creature. He placed both hands on Gom's scaled head. The gesture they had developed over weeks of building trust. These people scared you. I understand. But you did not hurt them. You showed restraint. I am proud of you. Gom's body relaxed completely. The creature lowered its head until it rested against Dohyun's chest. From this massive predator came a sound that no one had heard before, a soft, almost vulnerable whimper. I know, Dohyun said softly. I know it was frightening. Corvin and his team scrambled away to safety. Security teams lowered their weapons. Velrin approached slowly. How did you do that? The security chief asked. I did not do anything, Dohyun said, his hand still on Gom. Gom did it. Gom chose not to attack even when threatened. Gom chose restraint over violence. That is the mark of intelligence. Of civilization. Director Talmos arrived. His crystal body reflected the dimmed emergency lights. What happened here? Unauthorized research team attempted forced sedation, Velrin reported. The Vraken escaped containment but did not kill anyone. It merely defended itself by blocking their escape. Talmos looked at Corvin and his team. You violated protocols. You endangered lives. You will face consequences. Then the director turned to Dohyun and Gom. And you two have proven something remarkable. This committee visit in 3 days just became much more important. We need to show them what you have shown us. That Gom is not a monster. That humans understand what the rest of us missed. Dohyun guided Gom back to its enclosure. The creature followed willingly. When they reached the familiar space, Gom settled into its corner. Dohyun sat beside it. The Galactic Coalition Oversight Committee arrived exactly on schedule. There were 7 members representing different sectors of the galaxy. They walked through the station with stern faces. They had come to judge whether Gom should live or die. Dohyun stood in the observation room with Director Talmos and the committee. His heart beat fast, but his face remained calm. Everything he had worked for came down to this moment. Committee Chairman Veltor, a massive being made of living stone, spoke first. His voice rumbled like an earthquake. We have read the reports. They are difficult to believe. A Vraken that does not kill. A human who befriends the deadliest predator in known space. We must see this with our own eyes. Of course, Talmos said. Dohyun, please proceed with the demonstration. Dohyun entered the enclosure. Gom was waiting. The creature had learned the pattern. When official-looking beings gathered at the observation window, something important was happening. Good morning, Gom, Dohyun said clearly. Gom's response was immediate, not just the rumbling sound anymore. The creature opened its mouth and made a complex vocalization. To the committee's shock, it sounded like words. Dohyun. Committee member Silith, a being of pure energy, flickered with surprise. Did that creature just speak? Yes, Hayun said from the observation deck. She had been working with Gom for 2 weeks. Gom has learned approximately 12 words. The pronunciation is not perfect, but the intent is clear. Gom is communicating. Dohyun pulled out the advanced puzzle he had prepared. This one was designed for species with doctoral-level intelligence. He placed it before Gom. New puzzle, Dohyun said. Show them how smart you are. Gom studied the puzzle. It required understanding of three-dimensional space, cause and effect, and sequence memory. The creature tilted its head, examining the mechanism. Then, with careful precision, it began to solve the puzzle. First panel. Second panel. Paused to consider. Third panel opened a hidden compartment. Inside that compartment was a key. Gom used the key to unlock the fourth panel. The entire sequence took 3 minutes. When the puzzle opened, revealing the treat inside, Gom made a sound that resembled pride. It looked at Do-hyun, then at the observation window. Showing off, impossible, Velter said. That puzzle is designed for advanced sapient species. The Vraken solved it faster than some of our own researchers. Do-hyun asked Gom to demonstrate several behaviors. Sit, stand, show your injured leg. Each request was followed immediately. Then Do-hyun did something he had never done before. He turned his back on Gom completely. In the observation room, several committee members gasped. Soman gripped the rail nervously. Do-hyun stood with his back to the powerful predator. Vulnerable. Exposed. Gom, stay. Gom did not move. The creature could have attacked. Could have killed Do-hyun in one motion. But it simply sat and waited. Do-hyun counted to 30. Then he turned around. Good, very good. He walked to Gom and placed his hand on the creature's head. This was the moment he needed the committee to see. Trust. Real trust between species that should have been impossible. Committee member Ixara, a floating jellyfish-like being, spoke through their translator. This is unprecedented. But trust under controlled conditions is different from trust under stress. How do we know the creature will not revert to violence? May I demonstrate something? Hyun asked from the deck. She looked at Do-hyun through the glass. He nodded. Hyun entered the enclosure. She had never done this before. She was not Do-hyun. She was a stranger to Gom. The committee watched carefully. Gom's ears flattened slightly. The creature was uncertain. Who was this new person? Hello, Gom, Hyun said. Her voice shook slightly, but she controlled her fear. Do-hyun has told me much about you. Do-hyun stood beside Hyun. Gom, this is Hyun. She is a friend. She is safe. Gom studied Hyun. Its nostrils flared, reading her scent. Its eyes examined her body language. Then slowly, the creature's ears rose back to their normal position. Gom made the rumbling sound. Hello? Gom said in its rough voice. Hyun smiled despite her fear. Hello, Gom. It is an honor to meet you. The committee members looked at each other. What they were witnessing changed everything they knew about Vrakens. About Deathworld predators. About what was possible, but not everyone was convinced. Velter stood rigid as stone. This is remarkable. But I must ask the difficult question. Subject 9 killed 14 researchers before this human arrived. How can we be certain it will not kill again? That is a fair question, Do-hyun said. He gestured for Hyun to leave the enclosure. When they were both in the observation room, he faced the committee. Gom killed because it was in constant pain. The lights hurt its eyes. The sounds hurt its sensory organs. Every researcher approached with fear, which Gom sensed as hostility. The creature was defending itself, not hunting. Soman brought up data on the large screen. I have analyzed every attack. None of them were predatory behavior. All of them were defensive responses to perceived threats. Once we removed those threats and showed respect, the attack stopped completely. Additionally, Velren said, stepping forward, I must report that the humans' methods have succeeded where all others failed. Not through force, not through sedation, but through understanding. I questioned his approach. I was wrong. This human has taught us something valuable about Deathworld species. Sylith flickered with interest. What has he taught us? Velren looked at Do-hyun. That humans come from a world so dangerous that they learned to live with creatures that could kill them. They did not do this by becoming the strongest predators. They did it by becoming the smartest. By learning to communicate, to understand, to befriend. These are skills the rest of us never needed because our worlds were safe. Do-hyun nodded. Earth had lions, tigers, bears, crocodiles, and hundreds of other predators. We could not outrun them. We could not outfight them. So we learned to coexist. We studied them. We respected them. Some we befriended. Others we gave space. That is what I did with Gom. I gave respect. I gave space. I gave time. Chairman Veltor was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. The committee will deliberate, but I will tell you this, human. You have shown us something we thought impossible. Perhaps we have been wrong about many things. The committee left to discuss in private. Do-hyun returned to the enclosure to sit with Gom. The creature sensed his worry. "Friend," Gom said, the word clearer than before. "Yes," Do-hyun said. "Friend." Gom moved closer. The massive creature gently placed its head in Do-hyun's lap. It was a gesture of complete trust, of affection. Hours passed. Salman brought Do-hyun food. Taeyang checked on him twice. Ha-yoon continued her linguistic analysis from the observation deck. And Gom simply stayed close to the one being in the galaxy who saw it as more than a monster. Finally, the committee returned. Their faces were unreadable. Chairman Velter approached the observation glass. "We have reached a decision," he said. His voice carried through the speakers into the enclosure. "The committee has determined that Subject 9 is not a threat. Rather, we have determined that Subject 9 is a sapient being, a person. Therefore, Galactic Coalition law applies." Talmos's crystal body glowed brightly. "What does that mean?" "It means," Velter continued, "that we cannot hold a sapient being in captivity without their consent. The Vraken must be given a choice: return to its homeworld, or remain here under the condition that it stays willingly." Do-hyun stood up. His heart raced. "You are giving Gom freedom?" "We are recognizing rights," Ixara said. "Rights we should have recognized from the beginning. This creature is not a specimen. It is a person who was held prisoner." Do-hyun looked at Gom. The creature looked back with those intelligent, glowing eyes. "Did you hear that, Gom?" Do-hyun asked. "They are giving you a choice. You can go home if you want." Gom tilted its head, processing, understanding. Then it made a series of sounds, complex sounds that Ha-yoon quickly translated. "Gom says..." Ha-yoon paused, checking her translation. "Gom says home is where Do-hyun is." The words hit Do-hyun like a physical force. He knelt down and wrapped his arms around Gom's massive neck. The creature made the rumbling sound, the happy sound. "But," Veltor added, "we believe Gom should see its homeworld, should have the chance to be with its own kind. The committee will fund an expedition. Do-hyun, you will accompany Gom, show the creature its options. Let it make an informed choice." Soman smiled. "A journey home. When do we leave?" Do-hyun asked. "1 week, Talmos said. "We will prepare a ship, a human crew familiar with your methods, and we will send observers to document this. The galaxy needs to see what you have accomplished." That night, Do-hyun sat with Gom in the enclosure one more time. He told the creature about the journey ahead, about the homeworld it had been taken from years ago, about the choice it would have. "I will not lie to you," Do-hyun said quietly. "Part of me hopes you choose to stay, but another part of me knows you deserve to be with your own kind, to be wild and free." Gom made a sound, a long, complex sound. Then it said something new, something Ha-yoon had been teaching it in secret. "Boss, Dad." Do-hyun's eyes filled with tears. The words were rough. The pronunciation was imperfect. But the meaning was clear. Gom saw him as more than a friend, more than a keeper. As family. The transport ship was called the Pathfinder. It was large enough to carry Gom comfortably and had a crew of 12. 8 were human. 4 were aliens who had requested to join the historic mission. All of them had studied Do-hyun's methods. All of them understood they were not just returning a creature. They were giving a person a choice. The journey would take 4 weeks. Gom's homeworld, designated as Vraka Prime by galactic cartographers, was in a distant system that few ships visited. The planet was classified as too dangerous for colonization or tourism. Do-hyun stood in the cargo bay that had been converted into Gom's living space. The creature was examining everything with curiosity. This was Gom's first time on a ship since its capture years ago. "How are you feeling?" Do-hyun asked. Gom made the rumbling sound. Then it said, "Good. Boss Dad here." The phrase made Do-hyun smile every time. Ha-yoon had taught Gom those words, explaining that in human families, fathers protected and guided their children. Gom had understood immediately. That was what Do-hyun did. Soman entered the bay carrying her datapad.
"We will reach Vraka Prime in 26 days.
"I have been studying what little information we have about the planet. It is a fascinating place." "Tell me," Do-hyun said. "Class 11 Death World. Similar to Earth, but with higher gravity and more dangerous fauna. The Vraken are the apex predators, but they are not the only deadly species. The planet has massive forests with trees that can move. Oceans filled with creatures that hunt in packs. Even the plants are dangerous. Gom's ears perked up at the description. The creature made a series of sounds. Hayun had given Doyun a translation device that he wore on his wrist. It was not perfect, but it helped. The device translated home, remember, big trees. Water sounds pack. You remember your pack? Doyun asked. Yes, family, many strong. Doyun felt a weight in his chest. Gom had family. A real family that was not just one human who had shown kindness. The creature deserved to see them again. The weeks of travel passed quickly. Dohyun spent every day with Gom, teaching more words and learning more about Vrakan culture. He discovered that Vrakans were not solitary hunters as research suggested. They lived in packs of 10 to 20. They raised their young together. They had complex social structures. Gom had been a juvenile when it was captured. Barely old enough to hunt alone, someone had taken it from its family, from its home. For 3 years it had been alone, scared, hurt. On the 20th day of travel, Gom asked a question that made everyone on the ship stop what they were doing. Boss Dad come home with Gom? Dohyun sat down slowly. He had been dreading this question. I cannot live on Vraka Prime, Gom. It is too dangerous for humans. Gom's body language changed. The creature's ears flattened. Boss Dad leave? No, Dohyun said quickly. I will visit often, as much as I can. But you need to be with your own kind. You need to be free. Free? Gom tilted its head. The word was still new. Free means you can go anywhere, do anything. Be with your family, be wild, be what you were meant to be. Gom was quiet for a long time. Then it said something that broke Dohyun's heart. Gom not wild anymore. Gom no boss dad, no words, no machines. Not same as before. Dohyun realized the truth in those words. Gom had changed. Learning language changed thinking. Understanding technology changed perspective. The creature could never truly go back to what it was before. Then we will find a new way, Dohyun said. A way where you can be with your family but also come visit me. Where you can be both wild and civilized. We will figure it out together. Gom moved closer. The massive creature rested its head on Dohyun's shoulder. Together. Yes. 6 days later, the Pathfinder entered orbit around Vraka Prime. The planet was beautiful. Deep blue oceans, green and purple forests, mountains that touched the clouds. And in the northern hemisphere, a territory that sensors identified as Vrakan hunting grounds. Captain Daehyun, a human who had served in Earth's exploration fleet, studied the readings. That area shows significant Vrakan population. Approximately 200 individuals across 12 packs. If Gom's family is still alive, they would be there. They landed the ship in a clearing near the forest edge. The ramp lowered. For the first time in 3 years, Gom breathed the air of its homeworld. The creature's entire body changed. Its armor plates shifted. Its colors deepened. It made sounds that Dohyun had never heard before. Sounds of recognition, of belonging, boss dad, Gom said, looking back at the ship. Come, see home. Dohyun put on protective gear. Vraka Prime's atmosphere was breathable but harsh. The gravity was heavier, but he would not let Gom face this alone. They walked into the forest together. Somin, Hayun, and Taeyang followed at a distance with recording equipment. The rest of the crew stayed with the ship, monitoring from safety. The forest was like nothing Dohyun had ever seen. Trees with bark that shimmered, flowers that retracted when approached, sounds of creatures moving through the undergrowth. This was a living, breathing world that did not welcome outsiders, but Gom moved through it like coming home. The creature knew which plants to avoid, which paths to take, how to read the signs of other predators. Then Gom stopped. Its ears pointed forward. Every muscle in its body tensed. From somewhere ahead came a sound, a roar that shook the trees. Gom's pack, Hayun whispered, checking her scanner. Multiple Vrakans approaching. They detected our scent. 3 massive Vrakans emerged from the forest. They were bigger than Gom. Their armor was darker. Their eyes burned with the fire of wild creatures who had never known captivity. They saw Gom first. Then they saw Dohyun and the other humans. The largest Vrakan roared a challenge. Its claws extended. It moved between Gom and the humans, protecting what it thought was a young pack member from threats. Gom stepped forward. It made a series of complex vocalizations. The translator on Dohyun's wrist struggled to keep up, but he caught words. Family. No threat, friends, the large Vrakan responded. Its sounds were deeper, more primal, but Gom understood. The two creatures communicated in ways that no human could fully comprehend. Then Gom did something remarkable. It turned to Do-hyun and said, "Boss Dad, meet Mother." The large Vraken was Gom's mother. She had been searching for her lost child for 3 years. She had never stopped looking. Do-hyun slowly removed his helmet. He wanted Gom's mother to see his face, to see that he meant no harm. "Hello," Do-hyun said. His voice was soft, respectful. "I am Do-hyun. I have been taking care of Gom. I brought your child home." Gom's mother approached. Each step was careful. She could kill Do-hyun with one swipe. But Gom stood between them, making sounds that clearly meant protection. Not protecting Do-hyun from the mother. Protecting the mother from misunderstanding Do-hyun. The massive Vraken sniffed Do-hyun. Her hot breath washed over him. She was reading his scent, learning his chemical signature, understanding his emotions. Then she made a sound. A rumbling sound similar to Gom's greeting. Acceptance. Gom translated, though the words were rough. "Mother says, thank you, says, Boss Dad is packed now." Over the following days, something unprecedented happened. Do-hyun and his team were integrated into Gom's pack. The Vrakens allowed them to stay, to observe. To learn, Hyun documented everything. The complex social structures, the way Vrakens communicated through sounds, body language, and scent. The way they raised their young. The way they hunted together, and Gom thrived. The creature ran with its family through the forests. It hunted with its pack. It played with younger Vrakens who looked up to this strange member who could speak the soft language of the small beings. But every evening, Gom returned to the camp. It sat with Do-hyun. It practiced new words. It told stories about the day's adventures, Boss Dad. Gom said on the 7th night. "Gom knows now." "Knows what?" Do-hyun asked. "Knows 2 homes. Wild home, Boss Dad home. Gom needs both." Do-hyun smiled. "Then you will have both. I will set up a research station here. I will visit for months at a time. When you want to come to the station, you can. When you want to be wild, you stay here. You choose, always." Gom made the rumbling sound. Then it added new words. Words that Hyun had been teaching it in secret as a surprise. "Thanks, Boss Dad." The simple phrase carried so much meaning. Gratitude for rescue. Gratitude for understanding. Gratitude for not forcing a choice between 2 worlds. On the 10th day, something unexpected happened. Other Vrakens began approaching Do-hyun. Not with aggression, with curiosity. Gom had told them about the human who spoke softly and understood predators. One young Vraken, barely bigger than Gom had been when captured, approached Do-hyun with something in its mouth. It was a gift. A beautiful crystal from the mountains. Do-hyun accepted it with both hands. "Thank you." The young Vraken made a sound. Gom translated. "Little brother says, wants to learn words too." And so it began. Do-hyun started teaching not just Gom but other Vrakens. Simple words. Basic concepts. He was not trying to civilize them. He was giving them tools to communicate if they chose. 3 weeks after landing, Captain Dae-hyun received a message from the Galactic Coalition. Director Talmos appeared on the holographic screen. "Do-hyun, your reports have caused significant discussion. The Coalition wants to know if you would consider a permanent position. Establishing first contact protocols with Death World sapient species. Teaching others your methods.